Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. I have my most drafted wide receivers, and I've broken them up for you in like the top tier guys that I'm drafting like the first 6, 7, 8 rounds, and then guys that I'm drafting later as kind of lottery tickets to fill out my wide receiver cores on Underdog Fantasy and DraftKings for your 2022 fantasy football drafts. These are not rankings. This is guys who I have actually clicked across the 100+ fantasy drafts that I have done so far this summer. I have plenty more that I'm going to do with 4.5 weeks left before NFL season kicks off. I'm recording this video on August the 9th. If you see me in a draft moving forward, you kind of know who I've already got and possibly have my eyes on, but as ADPs change, so will the players that I click moving from now until week 1 kickoff. Thank you guys for being here. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, leave me a reply down below and let me know which wide receivers you have the highest allocations on. You can go easily on Underdog Fantasy and click results, draft completed, and then shows you your exposure. So go there and do that. And before we say, you know what comes next, right? It's the let's go. Before we say let's go, make sure you look down below in the pinned comment. There is a link to join the Discord. If you are a Twitch subscriber or you are a channel member of the main channel here on YouTube where I do all of the DFS videos that most of you guys have found me from the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, join the Discord, become a channel member on YouTube or a Twitch subscriber, and you get access to all of those channels. DFS, best ball can be an extremely isolating thing to do, but this gives you a community 5,400 plus members strong for you to discuss fantasy sports with whenever you want. So come and be a part of the Discord. It's where I hang out as well, especially on football Sundays. Without any further ado, let's go!
He's a legend.
In the early rounds, Elijah Moore is my highest allocated wide receiver. He just always seems to be there. I'm drafting him as like my wide receiver 3 or 4. His ADP currently is 68.2. I have 27% of Elijah Moore across all of the lineups that I've done. I'm high on this player moving into year 2 in his career. I am not swayed by the fact that they did spend draft capital on Garrett Wilson. Rookie wide receivers have done very well recently, but I feel like people have also overdrafted a lot of rookie wide receivers due to the great successes of like AJ Brown and Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, and everybody's chasing that one guy every year that has done well as a rookie, and forgetting the fact that they have really high talented other players on an offense that I believe is going to be an arrow up offense here with as much as they've spent in the offseason beefing up the offensive line. Year 2 for Zach Wilson in the same offensive system and cadence and verbiage and everything else, and a familiarity and a trust with Elijah Moore. It is what it is. If you think that Wilson's going to be the guy, go ahead and draft Wilson at his ADP between I think 100 to 110, but Elijah Moore sitting around pick number 70, being drafted in like round 6, round 7, has been a value to me all summer, and I've clicked him more than pretty much any other wide receiver in the first 7, 8 rounds. Juju Smith-Schuster comes in behind him at 25% of my lineups. It's very difficult to correlate Juju Smith-Schuster with Patrick Mahomes. Their draft cost in ADP is like right around each other. Juju is like 52.8 right now, and Patrick Mahomes is like 50. So in order for you to get both of them on one team, you'd almost have to draft Patrick Mahomes 1 round ahead of ADP, get him somewhere in the 4th round, and then hopefully get Juju Smith-Schuster in the 5th round. If a draft falls out for you like that, go for it, right? I don't mind that allocation. I don't mind that correlation. I'm fine with the Chiefs offense. Now, yeah, the Chiefs offense is going to look a little bit different this year without all-time downfield efficiency specialist Tyreek Hill threatening defenses and safeties downfield. Travis Kelce is another year older, but still a very, very talented and good tight end. They just need to utilize him more around the goal line. But Juju Smith-Schuster steps into a really high volume role on a really high powered offense with a quarterback who at this point in his career has a much stronger arm than Ben Roethlisberger did last season. Steelers fans always seem to get mad at me when I say that. Like, Ben Roethlisberger, guys, he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he was noodle-armed for the last 2 years. It is what it is. Don't get mad at me. Get mad at age. Okay? Yes, Juju was hurt last year, but he is healthy, and one of the bright spots in Chiefs camp so far, he looks like he is going to eat 125 to 145 targets, is not out of the realm of possibility, and if Juju stays healthy, he's going to be an absolute smash at his current ADP, as I said, just under 53 overall. Jerry Jeudy, another player that I've been talking about all summer long. I'm really high on this Broncos offense. He's good, and he's been unfortunately injured for the first couple of years of his career with ankles and everything else. He has been completely healthy now and has been a standout in Broncos camp so far. In fact, the video just came out from today where he burned 2 guys and got loose for a deep touchdown from Russ Wilson. Like, he is going to do work this year as long as he can stay off the injured list. I have 22.9% Jerry Jeudy. His ADP is 47.8. Earlier in draft season, when Jeudy was sitting around, 45 to 50, I was drafting Jeudy, and then I was getting Courtland Sutton around later when his ADP was 10 below Jeudy. As the summer has moved along, Courtland Sutton's ADP went the other direction, went above Jerry Jeudy's, and now he's sitting at like an ADP of like 36, and Jerry Jeudy's just kind of there. So earlier I thought that Sutton was the better value. Now I believe that Jerry Jeudy is the better value at ADP. I think both of these guys are going to eat. Right? It's not like one is going to do really well for fantasy if both are healthy and the other one is going to stink. I think they're both going to do well in a Russ Wilson-led offense with the Green Bay coaching staff that came over to head things up in a higher passing volume attack, a much faster paced offense in Denver, and playing that AFC West where like every single game that they play, those 6 games that they play against the AFC West opponents are going to be high scoring affairs with totals from like 52 to 57. So lots of things to like for me about Jerry Jeudy. And my final guy that's being drafted now early was going to be one of the late round guys, but like if you check the ADP on KADARIUS TONEY, have you checked this lately? Currently his ADP is sitting at 78th overall. I have 20.8% Jerry Jeudy. However, I did not gather the shares of Jerry Jeudy at an ADP of like 75 to 78. We've been buying Jerry Jeudy's, we've been buying KADARIUS TONEY since his ADP in May and June was somewhere in here between 100 and 110. It has steadily trickled upward and upward and upward and upward and upward and continues until now it's in the mid 70s. It's a different situation. And I'm not saying it's bad. I mean, there's a lot of things in that range that aren't like super stellar. I think as people are pushing down running backs from that running back dead zone, and focusing more on high volume, possibly pass catchers, KADARIUS TONEY has worked his way into the starting lineup. He is going to be on the outside opposite Kenny Golladay, with very likely Wan'Dale Robinson working the slot. The rookie KADARIUS TONEY, when healthy last season, the games that he played where he did not leave early, he had a lot of targets, like 9, 13, 12, not like the possibilities for him to have that many targets and this much volume at the ADP that we were paying for him was ludicrous. So like my average ADP on him is somewhere in the mid to high 90s. Now you got to pay a whole lot more. So I don't know how much more Toney I'm going to be adding from now until kickoff. I'm glad that my bags are packed with the amount that I have here. And if you watch the quarterbacks video, there'll be a link up there for the top drafted quarterbacks video. It will not be a shock based on how much I like to correlate my pass catchers with their quarterbacks, who my highest drafted QB2s are probably. But go check that video out too. Corey Davis, kind of going along with the Elijah Moore. That was foreshadowing just a second ago. Elijah Moore, I obviously said I had 27% of him. I have like 40% Corey Davis. Corey Davis's ADP is far too low. There are certain players that the fantasy football best ball drafting community on Twitter always seems to look at and say, there is no upside here. There's nothing that we can do here. He's not young. He's not exciting. I mean, he's not old, but like he's not exciting. There is no chance for like 150 catch season out of him. There is no chance for a 10 touchdown season out of it. You know what? So what? He's got an ADP of 172. He is an extremely professional wide receiver on a team that does project to run 3 wide an awful lot this season. He will get about 75 to 85+% of the snaps and routes for the New York Jets in an offense that I believe is an arrow up situation. So in situations where I have drafted Elijah Moore, like those teams that I've drafted Elijah Moore and then probably pinged Zach Wilson if he's there as a QB2, I'm tagging on Corey Davis as a second guy. Like if I wanted to get Wilson, his ADP is 100. Corey Davis is fine and he's safe and he's going to get you a lot of targets, and you're drafting him as your wide receiver 7 or 8. So there's very little downside. This is the range where I was drafting Hunter Renfrow and Van Jefferson last season. when they were not viewed. Hunter Renfrow, every time he drafted Hunter Renfrow, fantasy football Twitter and best ball Twitter would giggle. He drafted Hunter Renfrow. Can you believe it? Hunter Renfrow has no upside. How did Hunter Renfrow do last year? Now, I'm not saying that Corey Davis is going to have a Hunter Renfrow season, but like, it's okay with your later round wide receivers to draft a guy who's going to put up points for you. Take chances on the super high ceiling guys that have a little bit of variance in them, right? The rookies, guys like Olave, guys like Wilson. Take shots on them from rounds like 7 through 12. But it's all right if you do that to get guys who are going to be on the field, are very professional route runners, are going to log snaps, get targets and catches in arrow up offenses. So Corey Davis is that for me. It's also okay to take lottery tickets shots at Will Fuller, who currently is not on a team, still a free agent. I expect him to sign before the season starts. If he does not sign with a team, then it's a lottery ticket that just I scratched off and had nothing there. I have a lot of them. I've got 31% Will Fuller. If Will Fuller does sign with like the Indianapolis Colts or the Baltimore Ravens or the Los Angeles Rams or any team that has a need at wide receiver, the Dallas Cowboys, if he signs with any one of those teams, all of a sudden Will Fuller, and I mean during draft season, all of a sudden Will Fuller's ADP goes from where it is right now at like 190th. He's a 17th, 18th round pick where you're taking him. You're drafting him as a wide receiver 7, wide receiver 8. You're paying absolutely nothing to get him, with the possible payoff that if he gets signed by a team, he's going to go in the 10th round. He's going to go before pick 120 if he signs with one of those 4 teams I've listed or any solid offense. He is an elevator of talent at the quarterback position, meaning that any team that he's been on, he has made that quarterback better in the games that he has played. Yes, I know he's injury prone. Yes, I know that the last time that he had a good season, 2 seasons ago, 2020, he was suspended for PED use. I get it. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. You know, like he's not my son. He's a football player. He's doing what he can to try and extend his career. Obviously, last season he played like 1 game, 2 games, and wasn't on the field very much. But it's a lottery ticket, and I'm okay taking these shots in best ball tournaments, because if you're not taking shots, like back from my poker days, right? There was a saying that like, if you're not bluffing, if you never get caught with your hand in that cookie jar at a poker table, you're not playing good poker. If you're not taking shots on players that have a possibility at massive upside, these 40% running backs that we've talked about in backup running back situations who are already on the field and are 1 play away from becoming a 70% of the snaps and touches guy, on wide receivers who have a path to being on the field a ton with big time upside and splash week possibility. If you're not taking shots on players like that, you're not playing best ball the right way. So Will Fuller is somebody I'm very highly exposed to, but in a lottery ticket situation where I'm spending like my 8th wide receiver spot on him, where if he does not play, it's not going to hurt me, but if he does, it could elevate those teams not just into the playoff rounds in weeks 15 through 17, but might help me win the entire enchilada. And then Jarvis Landry, sitting with an ADP of 138. I've got 31% Jarvis Landry. He's just safe, right? Olave is fancier. Michael Thomas being back is a thing, right? And Thomas's ADP has flown, but like, Jarvis Landry has been a very, very, very solid player. And you're drafting him in round like 11, 12. And like a lot of the time he's falling. The ADP is still clicking downwards. You're drafting him usually as your wide receiver 5 through 7, depending on how wide receiver heavy you've been. And along the lines of somebody like Hunter Renfrow, he kind of correlates 1-to-1 with that situation. Low ADOT sort of player, but does have some downfield possibility, more so than a Hunter Renfrow does. You're getting into a very cheap draft cost in an offense that has a quarterback who does like to challenge a little bit and has been a gunslinger for the entirety of his NFL career. He does have to challenge for targets. Right now, I think that Olave is probably the highest upside based on ADP and real life possibility combined of this trio in New Orleans, but Jarvis Landry comes in as a solid value, and I've got my bags packed with him as my wide receiver 6 through 8. Kind of a safe pick. Maybe it's a little bit too safe, but I like the talent and I like the price. So those are my highest drafted wide receivers, both in the early rounds and the late rounds. Let me know who you've been targeting in your fantasy football drafts, and look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.